Welcome to Spill the Booch. This is the show where we share wild, hilarious, and oh so relatable stories from the yoga and wellness world because peaceful spaces have their fair share of WTF moments. I'm Mara, and I'm here with my industry pro team and business coaches, Bridget, Josh, Carol, Terry, and Maria. And together we're diving into stories that make you laugh, cringe, and say, yep, that's so studio life. So grab your coffee, kombucha, your favorite drink, and let's jump in. So today's story comes from one of my favorite Reddit threads for juicy stories, Am I the Asshole? And the title of today's story is, Am I the asshole for not forcing this yoga student into a different mat spot? Now, before we dive in, any wild guesses on where this story is headed from the title alone?
Say the title again, please.
Am I the asshole for not forcing this yoga student into a different mat spot?
I love that we're using the word force, first off. Instantly, we're walking into a buzzsaw here. I bet the person's behind a post in the room or something really annoying, and then they complain after class.
Or they're a brand new student in the front row.
Or they're doing something completely off the books in the front row.
Or someone else wanted their spot and
yeah.
walked in and was like, make them move. And the teacher was like, nah.
Interesting. Carol,
They crab
ideas?
wrestle for the spot.
Crab wrestle?
Those
Crab
are all
wrestle.
great. I don't know what else. You guys have come up with some really good things. I can't think of anything. Who the hell knows?
Fair. All right, well, let's dive in. So again, am I the asshole for not forcing this yoga student into a different mat spot? I have been teaching a yoga class at my local community center for about a year. Dave has been coming for about 6 months. Dave isn't the most in shape guy, but he's always been very kind to me and does his best with the workouts. As I learned in teacher training, I advise my students that if they need to take a break to practice their UGI, oh my God. Ujjayi, thank you. Oh God. Breath with their head above their heart, not lying down to avoid feeling dizzy. Dave often takes these breaks, sitting in Sukhasana until he feels ready to rejoin the class. Wow, there's a lot of Sanskrit in here. He also always sits in the back, which is normal for my regular students to have a preferred mat location. The way that my class is set up is staggered rows. So you are not directly behind or next to anyone, but you are directly behind the person 2 rows ahead of you. The woman sitting in 2 rows directly ahead of Dave approached me after class yesterday and said that she felt uncomfortable during class because Dave kept stopping to stare at her butt. She said that he should not be allowed back or written up. We don't have a write-up system. This is not school. I explained what I said at the start of class about resting in Sukhasana and recommended that if she returned, that she take a place at the back of the room so that no one could observe her posterior. She seemed a little annoyed, but thanked me coldly and left. My boss gave me a call today and said that I dealt with this complaint wrong and that I'm creating an unsafe space for the woman. She said that I should have called her boss, and that Dave should no longer be allowed at the back of the class. I'm fairly shocked at my boss's conclusion because I don't think it's fair to dictate where a client sits based on one complaint, unsubstantiated too. I face the front of the classroom and have never observed this. And even if he was staring straight ahead of him at her butt, I think that's a reasonable place for someone to look if they feel dizzy closing their eyes. I asked my boss if there was any other details the women added when they talked, and she was a bit cagey, but said there wasn't. All right, so I feel like this happens a lot. So let's get into it. As teachers, studio owners, you've all had experiences similar to this. What's your take on it?
Gut reaction, she's not the asshole, to answer the original question. This
I
teacher actually, at first when it's all this jargon, I was a little bit like, oh God, here we go. But actually, this teacher sounds like they have really considered this situation and was actually paying attention in the room. I think it sounds like they did a good job. Maybe there's some other communication steps that could have handled the complaint differently or better or whatever. That might be true, but it sounds like they handled this well. I have to say, as an owner, as a teacher, as a coach, having physically visited hundreds of studios and been there when this happens, and also as a man, in the mix over a pretty significant arc of time for what happens in culture right now, this is way the fuck more common than people think. This exact complaint. It's not even a question of if it'll happen at your studio. This falls into this will happen at your studio. How quickly from when you open and how many times per given year or whatever is the real question. Read that to what it is. It's super common.
I can agree with that.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. First off, a little bit of ego there with all the Sanskrit.
You can really tell I'm not a yoga teacher.
We get it, you're a yoga teacher. Do you really have to like show off that you know all these
Reddit
Sanskrit?
doesn't know Sanskrit.
Reddit doesn't know Sanskrit. So my initial is same with Josh, because oftentimes I've seen this after 20 something years of teaching, and again, lots of yoga studios, a lot of different places. Oftentimes people they're looking into space and you think they're looking at you, but they're really not. They're just bent out or just struggling to stay alive, particularly in a hot yoga class, right? And it's not that, or they're just whatever. And I think sometimes people are God, again, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this. It's just like, they're just too fragile. Come on, get over it. Unless it's an overt thing, the guy flashes himself to you or something like that. Seriously, if he or she is making you uncomfortable, go to another place in the room.
I have to pipe back in and just to say though that this is in fact an issue though. There are men who've got some quirk of behavior or are legitimately perverted and way out of line in a yoga studio because it's a semi-public, and this is a legitimate public place too. This is in fact also a thing. That's what's hard. It's like really hard to discern what's actually happening.
Well, yes, and asterisks. Typically, if that's the case, I've seen it reveal it way faster because it sounded like the post said that this person's been coming for months and months, right? So typically, yes, absolutely to your point, Josh. And we've had to deal, I've talked about the thong man who liked to wear a thong. He made his rounds and it was like he would go, and it was definitely bizarre behavior, but you knew it from the get.
Right off the bat. It wasn't like 6 months in.
Exactly.
It wasn't a slow burn.
So anyway, so I do feel that sometimes that behavior you see pretty quickly, as opposed to someone comes in and it just is like they feel something's happening. I'm not discounting this young woman's, because maybe she has had experience where that has happened. And I agree with Josh. I think the person did a good job of handling it.
So who's the real villain here in this story?
No one is the villain. Everybody is. I do think that the woman who felt looked at deserves a lot of compassion. She probably felt that way because every woman I know has experienced insane. I've been harassed by men on the street since I was 8 years old, staring at my body, commenting on my body. This woman has probably experienced this many times in her life, and that can lead our nervous systems to be extra vigilant. So she deserves a lot of compassion. But I do agree that he did not need to be kicked out of class. And I do think it's perfectly likely, it's just as likely that he wasn't staring at her. Like, that it's tough. I think that I would say, I think Josh said this, but like, there were more communication steps that needed to take place with this woman. And it does sound a bit like there was maybe a middle road. I guess we don't really know. Did they say what the teacher, the poster herself did, or himself, I guess, I don't know. Did they say what they said exactly to the woman? They said to sit in the back, right?
She said, she seemed a little, no, it doesn't specifically say.
Okay. I don't know. I think there's some red flags on a lot of sides here. And I do think that what's his face, Dave, I thought it was really funny. I just think people's language is so funny. When the original poster was like, he's not in shape, but he's always been nice to me. Those two things have nothing to do with each other. What are you talking about?
Setting ground. She really likes Dave. She thinks that he's trying real
Even
hard.
though he's not in shape, he is nice. So
No, wait. How in shape is the lady who complains? Maybe that's that we're missing a detail.
yeah, maybe they're valued differently based on that. I just was like, what? He's not in shape, but he's always been nice to you? Like, So you give him a pass for not being in shape. Anyway, I think
Everyone
yeah.
knows if you're not in shape, you're probably an asshole.
Yeah.
It's the ones who are in shape, who are ripped, that we really gotta look out for.
Anyway, I think that there were red flags on everyone's end here. I think that maybe something that they could say to Dave, and I will say, I actually have never had this happen, but we have a mostly women's studio. The amount of men we have is tiny. Could we say something to Dave? Hey, I don't have any reason to believe that this was the situation, but one thing that's helpful, sometimes women feel really exposed in a yoga class and they're trying to kind of, focus. Would you be open to being mindful about where your gaze is going and just mindful that women could feel he might be a creep, he might be completely oblivious to the situation, but it would actually make him a better citizen of the world to know that be cautious of this, be conscious. That could be nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm done.
So two
Thanks, Lauren.
thoughts, and I know I'm only supposed to do one thought at a time, but Josh, I'm going to do two thoughts. Is one, if Dave is sitting and the woman is standing, his gaze is going to be at her ass, right? Unless he's looking like this. If he's just straight staring, spine straight, chin level, his gaze is going to be right at the person in front of him.
Well, she did say when you have the studio set up that way and the mat staggered like that, you do look like you basically look directly at the person 2 rows in front of you.
100%. The other thing, to Josh's point, what was missing is the studio, and every studio should have an incident report, because I think the teacher should have written this up and report, this is what happened, this is what I said, this is, and then that way, and then let the owner know that this came up. And then there should be something in place. Maybe the owner follows up with the woman or something like that, so that they're proactively addressing it. So I think that every studio should have an incident report. Carol, what's your thought on that?
I agree totally with what you're saying. What's coming to mind for me is if they just staggered a little bit more instead of having the mats directly behind somebody else, would that fix the problem? If you were just a little bit off center, maybe that would help. But I think Bridget, you guys, this happens all the time. And the thing is, like, that is their reality. Their perception is their reality. So this is what happened, villain. Yeah. So it's a misunderstanding. Maybe he is a creep, maybe he's not. But I think I love the potential of saying, would you be mindful of, your gaze? Because somebody might take that as intrusive in some way.
That makes sense. Do you guys remember a time where a student challenged you like this? How did you handle it back then, and how would you approach it now with everything that you've learned over the years?
Why I sold my yoga studio, so I didn't have to deal with shit like this anymore.
That's how you handled the situation. You're
That's
like,
how I
"Hey, I'm
handled the
over it.
situation.
Fuck
See you,
this."
bye.
That's one way to do it. Remove yourself from the situation completely and indefinitely.
I was in the last year or so, I was teaching a class and it's kind of dark in the room and I have my timer and I'm using my phone to do the music. So I have older eyes and I needed my flashlight on to see my timer. And this guy in the front row accused me of recording him during class. I was like, dude, why would I record you? There's a million things I'm trying to do when I'm teaching. Recording you is not going to be a thing that I want to add to that. So I was shocked. And so I just was like, dude, I can't fucking see. My flashlight is on because I need to see my timer. I think I said it just.
Carol, what exactly did he say?
I think he was talking to the studio owner and saying how she reached out to me and said something. He thinks that you were recording him during class. And I was like, what? And I think it was because the flashlight was on. And this is somebody I have known now for multiple decades. And I know him in a way that, like, I'm not putting up with his shit. So I just was straight up with him. I'm just like, I did not. I think I was compassionate, but I'm not going to listen to this. You're accusing me of that? Are you fucking kidding me? That's probably how I said it to him. I don't know if that was compassionate or not really. So it didn't, and he's crazy. That's what he is. So, in my opinion.
Well, at least you have like 10 decade of knowledge. It's not a new person coming in, rolling off the street.
Wow. No,
There's
no.
some context there.
Yes, and I
Well-
would have been different. I would have handled it differently if it was somebody that
Someone
I didn't
else.
know for sure.
The context does matter. We had a student that had looking at someone complaint, and we dealt with it, how Bridget was talking about. Hey, this was brought to our attention. It's really important. This is the safe space, etc. No problem. Then it happened again a month later. And before I got to him, it happened a third time where there's a complaint. So we booted them from the studio. But to Carol's point of like, there's the pre-existing relationship creates a new context for how you can communicate with somebody. And going back to a point earlier, I don't know about like speed at which something like this comes on, but because objective reality isn't the experience of anyone involved, then you kind of have to treat things in a certain way unless it's so blatantly obvious, and then just be prepared. But that's where you need the incident report. This is a community center this teacher is working at. What if she doesn't work there anymore and this happens again with the same person 3 months later? There's no
How are
record
they
of
gonna
this
know?
now. No one even knows. I got to back up for one comment. I don't think there's a villain in the story actually, but if I had to pick a villain, it's the boss.
I was
The
think
boss-
that was my thought.
boss
The
fucked
studio
up.
owner.
Studio
Yeah.
owner or the boss or whatever, they just demonstrated their own fear, at least in how this is presented in the story. Clearly
You
didn't-
never
they
learn.
didn't-
You only learn one side of the story, obviously, in Reddit stories, so you never know what actually happened because for all we know, the studio owner could have had a really heartfelt conversation with Dave because it ended up that Dave just had to sit somewhere else. And maybe they did have a really nice conversation with him and everything is fine, but it doesn't say that. She just knows that Dave has to sit somewhere else. Dave can't sit with us.
Being looked at as a woman thing in a undesirable way, being so real, makes it very tricky in a yoga studio because of the nature of some of the instruction too. So the bigger theme that you might consider, and this goes all the way back to running a good teacher training, is understanding as a teacher how to mitigate these situations slightly. There is a lot of yoga instruction that tells about where to look and where your gaze should be and what the purpose of your drishti is even, etc. And so by extension, you could include this sort of thing. Just the thought that if you're given the instruction to be sitting upright, keeping your head above your heart, if you're feeling overwhelmed, then you also have to consider that that's going to be an instruction that happens when someone's in forward bending or something right in front of them. And there, it might be worth having just generic training of people around where your gaze should be. I don't know, just a thought, just consider. I'm just thinking about myself. How have I never had a complaint about staring at someone in class? Because I stare at people all the time. I don't stare at people all the time. But it's because I'm not staring at people. And I think that the obliviousness factor here, men or woman, is in fact an element of this. But there's no scenario, if I was ever just sitting staring forward and there was people right in front of me, I wouldn't look at them. I would look at the floor, or I would be looking at my drishti above. There's a spot I'd be looking at, which wouldn't be straightforward.
I can agree with that. Maria, do you have anything to say on this? As a yoga teacher, has something like this happened to you? How have you dealt with it?
Perception is reality, to echo what Carol was saying. And you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. There's always two sides to every story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think that if this happened in any other workplace, there's a standard process that would be followed here that would involve talking to both of those people. And just like open communication is always the best practice in situations like this. I couldn't help but think about something that happened to me in a studio while I was teaching. A woman took her shirt off in the middle of my class, bare chest. And I was just, and me and everybody in the room, just like, I was dumbstruck. It was like, I don't know what to do.
Well, and even in Modo, because you teach Modo and men have to wear shirts in Modo classes, right?
Because of this instance.
Because of this incident.
Oh.
Changed basically the whole brand.
And so it happened the one time, and I was like, hey, listen, I am totally about it. Like, free the nip. All the power to you. Equal rights, men and women. I'm with you, sister. And fact of the matter is that breasts are still very sexualized. And the same standard just frankly does not apply in a public space where it's not already predetermined that this is something that's acceptable, right? So Then it happened again with another teacher, and that teacher reacted very differently and kicked that person out of the room and stopped class altogether and was like, meet me outside. This is totally not okay. And then it happened a third time. And at that point, the student just completely blew up and stormed out, and she was causing shit. And I think she was a bit of an instigator in that way as well. There was a couple of other things that I'm not really mentioning and I'm sort of glossing over, just giving the cliff notes here. But at the end of the day, we tried to have a conversation with her and we said, we listen, equal rights across for everybody. Men are now required to wear shirts in class as well, right? Everybody just needs to cover their chest, basically. And she was like, no, that's not good enough. I want to be able to take my shirt off. This is bullshit. You guys are living in the 18th century kind of thing. Fuck you, and left. And she's never been seen again. But everybody's still required to cover their chest.
Well, and for an additional piece of context, the province in Canada that this took place in, by law, a woman can be topless anywhere a man can be topless for quite a few years now.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know.
So
that.
legally,
Back
if you
Canadian.
say that all the men can be in there with no shirt on, you can't tell a woman to put a shirt on. Actually, by law, which is an awesome law and makes sense in the context of the beach. But so now the studio policy is, it's why I will not go topless in a hot yoga class anywhere. I haven't for years, and that's exactly why this equal element, because this has come up in other places too in like weird roundabout ways.
I have a question though. Do men show up in crop tops?
A lot.
I love it.
It's like Shane from Love is Blind vibes. Shane and Dom.
Yeah.
I took a class at a studio in Tennessee earlier, first of the year, and I don't wear my glasses when I practice. So this person came in, short hair, wearing shorts, no top, sat up in the front row without my glasses. I was just like, oh, there's a person. And afterwards, I realized it was a woman and she had had a double mastectomy. So she had no breasts. And apparently she practiced top. I took a couple classes and she was there and she didn't wear a top. And I thought, you go, girl. At first I was like, oh. And then I was like, oh, well, she doesn't have breasts. Why can't, the men can go topless to the point that the men, so I'm like, okay, if I don't have breasts, do I have to wear a top? Well, maybe not. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. And irrelevancy to what we're talking about.
It totally is. No, but this is all relevant. It's super fascinating because it shows the difference in our immediate gut reaction even on these things is different.
Well, I am wondering, Josh, you said it makes sense in the context of the beach, but not a yoga studio. And I'm wondering why.
Oh, it could make sense in the context of a yoga studio too. Maria said it perfectly. If it's a predetermined thing. And I think that also it makes sense legally in a different context. On the other hand, there's the things that are culturally normative, and I'm not saying that you have to abide by those things, but also for society to function in a harmonious way, there's value in that. So can we not pretend, as much as we would maybe some people would like to believe, that breasts are not sexualized and that it isn't already something that is actually leveraged in that way and definitely viewed that way by the majority of men. So it changes the environment when you do that. And that's the part, to me, from a policy in your business standpoint, that's the line where I have to consider something, is that this behavior it now is putting a control that I did not put in place that changes the environment for everyone involved. And it's not what I've curated. That's where I'm not saying lock something down necessarily, but that's where you have to consider it, in my opinion.
Totally. I think it depends on what kind of business you want to be in, what matters to you because at some point someone had to be like, yes, women wearing pants is distracting to people, but we can't keep
get over it.
So on some level, I'm like, I'll just let all the lady, whatever. But
well, let me add this thought in, and look, I'm not even saying that this is my opinion. It's just like these thought experiments. We've been playing this game in the yoga studio world for so long. I find a whole conversations fascinating, and I see a lot of different angles on this stuff. That's true. But then also, is it a culturally significant conversation across the larger culture that we're really debating women should be able to be topless? Is this a high desire? Is this a debated thing that really empowers women in some way? In which case, then yes, we should have this conversation. And being a good leader, if you have an environment like a yoga studio where you could be like, fuck it, we're into this, do it, might make sense. I'm not sure that that's the versus wearing pants, I'm saying, is the comparison, right? Studios just, and by extension, studios find themselves very involved, where Maria is a good one of the markets that we've seen this happen in the most extreme way, very involved in these movements, politically charged, opinionated things, etc. While they tout inclusivity, they create polarization. And in the end, you're a yoga studio teaching yoga classes with a yoga teacher who did some 200-hour teacher training from some other yoga teacher who did a 500-hour, and it's all bullshit anyways. This is me ranting on the whole industry, but like, why is this in this business even a discussion when we talk about empowering and whatever? That's fascinating. Teach some great yoga classes. Yoga 101, empower yourself. Introspection.
Yeah, empower yourself to take your shirt off if you want.
Right. Enlightenment of yourself. It's an internal thing, not an external thing.
But all right, here's a thought is, if you are enlightened and if you are empowered, should you not recognize for the greater good that if I take my top off, this will probably make people uncomfortable. Therefore, for the greater good, and because I'm enlightened and I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, I'm going to keep my top on.
Well, if you
One
don't
can
give a shit
argue-
about everybody else, it's your practice.
It's my practice, but we work in a community and we're part of a greater society. And to Josh's point, we have societal norms. And should I be so selfish that I know that by doing this, I'm going to make so many other people uncomfortable? Therefore, I choose not to, because I'm part of this society.
I do not.
That's the problem.
A value to not make people uncomfortable. I don't, like there's nothing in the Yoga Sutras about not making people uncomfortable. It says
quite the reverse.
Harm. Yes, and it says in the Yoga Sutras, someone hurts me, hurt me again. Like it is not like, yes, ahimsa don't cause harm. A man seeing my breasts is not causing him harm. I'm sorry, it is not. And it also, I am very much like, we don't talk about politics at all at my studio. There's been a couple times recently where I actually had a conversation with a teacher to be like, yeah, I don't really want you taking a side one way or the other in front of a Dharma talk, in front of our students. To me, if there is something that is grotesquely, and I think it is grotesquely unequal, it is grotesquely unjust. There is this just double standard that is completely accepted and everyone's like, it's no big deal. It is a fucking big deal that men get to wear whatever they want or dress however they want, but women can't dress however they want. Like, it's fucked up. And it is not my job to make people comfortable with my body. And Whew.
Okay.
You go.
I
girl.
like both. I agree with both. This is what I'm saying. Is it such a charged thing? And then again, we're talking about the context of you own a yoga business. And then this is where the personal opinion side comes into it. It is totally yoga studio normative, as your example was saying, for a teacher to do a Dharma talk and then shit on a political party or insinuate that you have to eat a certain way or whatever. And everyone's like, yep, no problem at all. But I don't know. It gets really complex. And in the end, what is the objective of your business? And what are you trying to stand for? The women wearing pants or the women being topless, as the example that we're staying on here, I feel like you could take that stance and you could make that the place. And the culturally normative part, here's the objective reality is the problem here, because to Terry's point, on the two ends of the spectrum, if you have someone, and I don't know how to describe this, it's a really hard thing, but as business coaches, we really see it a lot. There is the scenario that seems to happen at a higher than normal percentage in a yoga studio where you have people who are, I hate to say this word, but like troublemaking. They're so charged and they're using the studio as the platform for the demonstration and to create the tension and the fight. And to what end? What is it that you hope will come from this? And then the studio saying, and it makes the environment so massively uncomfortable to the point that people don't want to be there, and it actually has a negative impact on the business. And it's not about whether your breasts are out making a man comfortable or uncomfortable, but how can we say inclusivity in a yoga studio and charge people money to be there, and then allow for an environment that is so divisive? And that's a more generalized statement. And so it's a really tricky balance. And so you got one end of the spectrum where it's like this quote unquote troublemaker crowd, for lack of a better describer, versus I'm a more empowered, enlightened person, and I'm making a very conscious decision that despite the repercussions, I will make a statement by being topless here because it's legally allowed in the province. And I feel like this should be something that we should be culturally talking about. And I will, in a calm and loving way, push this agenda forward from a place of empowerment. I see these as two different things. The action looks the same, but the energy and what happens and the hatred that comes out of it, that's the major difference. If I don't agree as a studio owner with any behavior, and then you actively go after the business to cancel me, and you actively enroll other students and the teaching staff, etc., that's where it's really, I don't know. I feel really defensive of the studio owners because we've just seen it a lot where things they shouldn't be such a big deal get so fucking blown up.
Well, that
And
story
it
that we
really,
read,
it fucks people's lives. People don't want to
Yeah.
talk about this part. It fucks people's lives. I'm talking like you've got $1 million in debt and it crushes your business all because whatever. You didn't let someone be topless in the studio. Like that, this is the kind of thing that happens from. We have to tie this into it. We decide women can be topless in a studio, and then one of those women who's topless says, this guy was looking at my breasts.
Of course he is. He's staring at your breast. Keep your private parts private.
But even if we decide, let's not treat them as private parts, and even if objectively was he staring at them or not, I don't know. But the person now makes the same claim, same story, same scenario. I'm just throwing fuel on the fire here. It gets complicated.
Really?
It gets
Oh,
really
surprise.
complicated really quickly.
Josh just has a jerry can.
Totally two different things. I'm constantly saying, fuck all this like cancel culture bullshit. This is my soapbox that I'm always on. They're two completely different things. And I think ultimately, all I want to say for the record, I think Moto did the only other appropriate thing. And I don't think this is a tiny little thing. Not that any political thing is tiny, but this isn't just political to me. This is right and wrong to me, like fully right and wrong. And I don't say that about almost anything. I love a gray area. I love nuance, but I don't think there's any other. I think it's fine to decide no one shows their nipples, but it is truly against I genuinely think it is wrong, WRONG, to say that men can show their nipples and women can't. So I think Moto made a great choice, and that's great. And I think that that's a great solution for any studio owner going through that same thing.
I would agree with that. I think it's the only choice they could have made. I think there was no other choice to be made.
It's just a body part. And that's like saying you can't fart in the studio because that's a bodily function. Everybody does it. Everybody has nipples. Anyways.
I don't think we're really debating the breast element of this. It's more like the situation that arose in this studio, which then dictates policy. And then how this gets, it's just all these things come up. Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, because this happened in another brand, or not another brand, another studio that had a couple locations too. Other people comment on this too. It wasn't just the teacher and this one person who's taken their top off. Other practitioners in the studio are then also actually complaining. So then who's right? Who do we decide to angle everything to? Hence, this was a very tumultuous decision, but I think it was a good one. Fine. Everyone's got to wear a shirt. Studio policy. Great. I don't see any issue with that at all.
Oh, it just makes you sweat more. Yeah, more toxins are coming out.
This, I don't know. I find this is the part of the whole industry that I find really fascinating. And it's really tricky because the other thing, this is not the same thing. It's not a direct comparison, but let's take it extreme the other direction. On one side, we have someone was looking at me. I don't feel uncomfortable. Then we have, I've actually created a scenario where this needs to be a discussion. And then in the more extreme place, this has happened multiple times just in the last year. Their studios have become a politicalized platform where people are talking about the genocide in Gaza and are actually calling students coming into the business down for wearing the wrong clothing associated with this and supporting Israel. And then you'll have an Israeli student in the same studio at the same class at the same time being like, hey, but that's not right. And now we have a legitimate, almost people fist fighting in the fucking lobby of a yoga studio. More extreme, I'm not putting direct comparison, but it's more the bigger zoomed out view of, wait, why is it that it's socially appropriate for a studio to be the place this is where the statement is being made and where the debate is happening and where the preaching is happening? Why is it that that's the studio? That's the part that I find fascinating, because the person who gets fucked here in 100% of cases from a business coach perspective is the owner. There is no right way to play this. It always impacts your business negatively, no matter what. And you're the one who's got it all on the line. So the owner, in defense, starts to do things that then behaviorally get them in trouble, like firing people or getting them out of the business because they're scared. And I get why they're scared, because they're like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Everyone get out.
It's really shitty that the actions of students can royally fuck up your business.
Well,
And staff, students
in
and
this first
staff.
story, the second story, and this one I'm talking about, this whole two students who decide to debate something in the lobby and get heated, you can't control that. I'm talking about staff, the teacher, the front desk, one of the managers at the studio.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
And just one final thought on this too, is that you require tops. What's to stop someone? This again, sheer top or a top where the nips are cut out. I'm wearing a top because this is
Mean Girls, for sure.
I mentioned Thong Man. There was this dude. He was a creepy dude, and he went to every Bikram yoga studio in New England because he would wear these, like, not just. I mean, he was like Broadway thong, like Magic Mike.
Well, yeah, you said it had rhinestones and it was hot pink.
So then
I want one of those thongs.
I know one of my friends who was very compassionate, who owns a studio in New England, talked to him about it. Why this blah blah blah? And he said, okay. So the next time he showed up to class, he was wearing running shorts, 100% white, no liner. As soon as they got rut, you could see fucking everything. You could see more than when he was wearing the thong. So
then, did you tell him to come back with the thong?
No, I don't know what happened after
Wear
that.
the thong and the running shorts.
My point is that
everyone has to wear pants. Yeah. Everyone has to wear leggings from now on. That's
oh my goodness.
Crazy time.
Crazy. Hey, let's officially shift gears here and take a step back and look at some of the comments. All right. So the overall consensus was not the asshole, obviously. Given that Dave has been a regular for 6 months and there's been no complaints up until now, I'm guessing it was a misunderstanding and the women assumed his rest breaks were something inappropriate. Now, if this were to happen again, I feel like I'd not allow him in class anymore. If he's someone who needs regular breaks, I don't blame him for sitting in the back. I'd probably do the same. I don't call too much attention to myself when I rest. There is someone who's getting called a participant, like a bad participant. Like they're just stirring up shit.
Participant like ass?
Yeah, participant.
Oh.
Yeah. No.
Good word.
I know, right? That word. He says, we aren't in the Reddit thread, are my feelings valid? We aren't here to judge her feelings. We're here to judge her actions. She's an asshole. Her valid feelings are irrelevant. That is aggressive. This is exactly how I was going to reply. This isn't a clear-cut, you're wrong, them right situation. Like you said, it's entirely circumstantial and situational. Nobody did anything wrong aside for arguably the lady demanding someone be removed from class for existing with eyes and genitalia that isn't the same as hers. Like we both said, the real thing here is there's no proof of any wrongdoing, and OP simply stated a solution to the problem at hand without laying blame or fault on anyone. OP handled this like a champ in customer service sense, but that sense also varies based on the company or employer, as OP is finding out, sadly. Now, has anybody had a moment where you thought, am I the asshole in class or studio management situations?
Every day.
Every day.
No, not actually.
No, I mean, maybe. Well, let's switch things up to my personal favorite part of the show, where we play a super fun game. This game is called Studio Red Flags. I'm going to say a few different scenarios and you'll each tell me if it's a Red flag, green
Look at this.
or a beige flag. There was no beige flags on Amazon, so I got a Canadian flag because we're basically
Canada gets beige.
Yeah, we're beige.
mean,
We're pretty
that makes
chill.
sense. We're pretty beige. Wait, do we get points for this time?
No,
No, we
I'll tell who's a winner. Okay.
Okay, good. I'm only playing if someone wins.
Oh my goodness. All right. The new student walks in and announces, I usually lead teacher trainings, but I wanted to try your class.
red.
You guys gotta yell it out. What do you think? I need to wave the flags.
Beige.
It's usually a red flag, but
Red
it could
flag.
go beige. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just was stated, you
Yeah.
know.
Beige because like red flag, but also this is going to be a really fun class to teach.
We better really teach the shit out of this class.
Teach the
Red
shit out
flag
of
because
this
there's
class.
too much ego at the start.
Yeah. Really bad.
Teacher shows up with crystals, sage, and no lesson plan.
Green
Beige.
flag.
Green flag from Josh.
Absolutely. Crystals solve everything. Everyone knows that.
Bridget, beige flag.
Beige for me. Could go
Beige.
either way.
Yeah.
It could be horrible.
Well, it also depends upon the class that they're teaching.
True.
I feel like they showed up prepared.
Yeah, I mean, it also
They showed up prepared. They brought their crystals, duh.
if
That means they had
if-
forethought of their class. They're like, okay, teaching this class, it's gonna need some crystals.
Yeah.
and if you've
I'm
been
totally
teaching a
taking that class.
while, and if you've been teaching a while, it's like, and it's let's say it's a vinyasa flow class, you might be using something you've already done in the past. Does every class? I mean, I've not been a vinyasa, but Maria, you guys that are, it's like you don't have to create a new class every time you teach, right? You can have
Right.
classes that you know, so you show up, you already have a plan. I'm going to do my class 1 or my class 2. So
Yep.
yeah.
All right. The teacher who's subbing your class text 3 minutes before class starts. I can't make it. Sorry.
Red.
That's a definite red.
No flag, you're fired. What
You're
what are
fired.
you talking about?
Yeah.
Do we have a you're fired flag?
Yeah.
It's just super red. The whole box of red flag. All right.
I mean, okay, wait. They're okay, and there's not a family emergency or something like that first, and then you're fired.
Okay. Fair. Very considerate of you. A student rolls out their mat horizontally right in the front row.
Oh, they might not know.
I
Yeah.
just not know. I
Green-
wouldn't say
green
that's
flag.
no flag. It's flag.
That's
Yeah.
a
too.
green flag?
Hi, Canada.
Josh, you fail. That's
Well,
definitely
I guess I don't know what the green flag means. Beige, not
green
red.
flag
whatever.
means good. Green
That's
is
good. They
okay. Sorry, I should have categorized. Okay, so beige flag, Canada flag is like, that's okay. Not super red flag, not super bad, but it's not great.
It's uninformed.
Green is go, good, yay, and then red is ooh bad.
I got the red one.
Okay.
I call this green flag.
Okay. The teacher ends every class by making
Mhm.
everyone go around say what they're grateful for in
I
that
don't know if
moment.
it's a flag or not. It's just fucking annoying.
Yeah, it's a
I
bit
think that's a red
It's a bit
flag.
much.
Yeah. Mary sings a song to her class about doing yoga to the tune of Wonderwall in Savasana.
green. I love Oasis. I'm going to see Oasis in
What?
Cool.
Oh my, that'd be cool. Very cool. Very cool. A student slow claps at the end of every single class
That's
loudly, even in yin.
yeah.
Green flag.
Green flag.
Green flag for being hilarious.
I like that. Slow clap.
A teacher calls every student warrior and ends class with go out there and conquer your destiny.
Oh, wow.
Not my style, but I'm here for it, you know?
Beige.
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 Yeah, maybe
that's
they're a
one of those-
Viking in a past life.
Could
It
be.
really depends on the teacher vibe. Like
Totally.
there's some wild teachers out there that can do that sort of stuff and it
Yeah.
somehow lands. It makes no sense to me when you just say it, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Teacher initiates a dance party at the end of their class instead of Savasana.
Green.
Green.
I mean, you need a little shavasana, so let's call it beige, but
You mean Andrea's class that you guys make us
Basically.
do every single summit?
Yeah, it's a good class. A teacher refuses to use studio software because tech isn't spiritual.
Red flag.
Last one. Someone brings out their own essential oils and starts dabbing other students without consent. I don't know. Beige, red,
That's red. That's
a
red.
little bit of both.
The red.
Green
Red
flag,
flag?
dude. Hire them.
Consent.
Hire them.
Red.
You're
You know how much
hired,
essential
not fired.
Do you know how much essential oils cost? Hire that person.
I just-
$10. $10 says that student is also part of that Young Living pyramid.
Yeah.
They're a
scheme.
young living rep and they're
Totally.
secret.
They're a young living.
Yeah,
They're a
don't
young living
hire.
rep. You're like, I think this lavender would be really great at the end of your class. Just swipe it on people. Here's my card.
It's dabbing people with
I'm trying to get a car.
Free sample.
Oh man. All right, friends. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Spill the Booch. Thanks for hanging out with us, sharing some laughs and some tangents, because let's face it, yoga might be zen, but life isn't always. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share your own wild stories with us. You might just hear them on the show. Until next time, cheers.
Spill the booch, just a scoop, let me pour it in the cup. Mama stay with the drummer, now we bout to turn it up. Stretching true like a Hemi hot tea in the room. Sip the kombucha fizz while we watch it go boom.